Is this a learning organization? Many of us recognize and can differentiate the purpose of an institution of higher learning from its ability to change the meat of the fluctuating needs of the river of learners flowing through its doors. This case study will focus on the University of St. Thomas and its continuous improvement efforts in maintaining and growing in the learning organization space, as outlined by David Garvin, Amy Edmondson, and Francisco Gino in their Harvard Business Review article, Is Yours a Learning Organization? Garvin, Edmondson, and Gino propound there exist three building blocks which together form the cornerstone of a learning organization. The three attributes which need to be in existence are a supportive learning environment, concrete learning processes and practices, and leadership that reinforces learning. Universities are large organizations. UST supports 7 academic divisions offering 90 undergraduate and 60 graduate degree programs. All divisions, both academic and non-academic, operate under the university's mission. Inspired by Catholic intellectual tradition, the University of St. Thomas educates students to be morally responsible leaders who think critically, act wisely, and work skillfully to advance the common good. This quote by President Dennis Deese might erase any doubt about leadership which reinforces learning. In this case study, I focused on 3 discrete personal and professional development programs at UST. One is constructed specifically for faculty, one with a non-academic focus for staff and faculty, and one department's professional development construct. I will address each in concordance with the outline created by Garvin, Edmondson, and Gino. I requested of each of the persons I interviewed to take the HBR Learning Organization Survey and to please email me their composite scores. None complied with my request. First, the Center for Faculty Development. On screen are their approaches to support the primary mission of the university. In speaking with the FDC Director Ann Johnson, she describes a broad overview of the purpose of the center as a resource, where, quote, we are just trying to broadly provide opportunities for faculty professional development so they can be the best scholars, teachers, citizens of the community, unquote. Johnson says they run a series of workshops on how to integrate critical thinking skill strategies into teaching with an outcome strategy with students to create capacity for better and better critical thinking, unquote. With the intent, quote, our faculty will take the skills they learn in workshops back to the classroom, unquote. The FDC has numerous programs which faculty can opt to use based on each individual's learning preference. The plethora of choices provide a psychological buffer when desired. All seminars and workshops are conducted by highly trained facilitators who maintain the highest levels of integrity. The FDC maintains the highest levels of psychological safety, values, solicits new and or opposing ideas, and include reflection as an integral part of all the training avenues. The FDC has developed a series of programs with concrete learning processes and practices. For example, the Open Classroom Project and Classroom Consulting Services. The latter is a confidential service. The former was established to promote conversations about learning. As for Building Block 3, Leadership that Reinforces Learning, Dr. Johnson related the following story which characterizes how the FDC grows from its own learning opportunities.
In a kind of indirect way, we ended up hosting here in faculty development a work group on first-generation college students. So that included Mike Kogan from the institutional research, a couple other people from research and from academic counseling. What we did was gather research on first-generation students at St. Thomas to kind of see how are they doing. And when we looked, there were some issues of concern, but managing to retain them. They're getting, their GPA is similar to the general, average GPA, and so we got some faculty who themselves were first-generation college students to serve on a panel, and so there was an interesting kind of integration of efforts there. So that's been, that was an opportunity to cross lines in the way that I think President Sullivan was talking about. And I really agree with that. I think that can be extremely fruitful. So at times it didn't feel like it was completely consistent with our mission here at St. Thomas, but in the end it was, because we managed to glean from those conversations and that group work some ideas that then we could incorporate into our own faculty training experiences.
As we just heard, the FDC listens, learns, and responds, using the Kirkpatrick evaluation model. The FDC follows up with workshop and seminar participants with an email requesting they complete a Qualtrics survey. This Kirkpatrick Level 1 focus survey is requested one time and with a short time period after an event. There are no follow-up surveys. As we heard, the FTC is focused on assisting faculty with improving their instructional techniques with a broader goal of student learning improvements. In a 2010 survey by educationnews.org, about 26% of instructional and research faculty at UST were non-tenured. Dr. Johnson estimates about 30% of faculty use the FTC. From a diffusion of innovations theory, the FTC has reached the early adopter tipping point of 15 to 18% penetration. In an effort to obtain comparative evaluative metrics, I requested a couple of metrics the center does not measure. This was based on my assumption the student is the customer and my perceptions of how the customer might be well served. Assumption 1. If the personal efficacy of learning for each individual student could be raised, it might result in a shorter time to graduation, which could result in lower tuition costs and less personal debt. A desirable outcome for both the learner and the institution. 2. What is the ratio of tenured versus non-tenured users of the FTC? This is a measurement of the desire towards self-improvement. Non-tenured has an implicit motive, tenure. As the FTC also promotes offerings beneficial to tenured staff, such as grant support for research and sabbaticals, the participation metrics from Education News support the assumption that tenured staff can be motivated and do participate in the offerings. At what level of interest? On screen are the FTC website statistics for the past year. The university also provides personal and professional development opportunities to all faculty and staff through what is known as the Leadership Academy. The Academy was formalized in 2005. Before then, it was just Human Resources Training and Development Program. Each year, the Academy offers 50 to 60 seminars and classes in the support of individual and professional development. Their individualized mission also aligns with the university's core mission. In speaking with the Academy's director, Carolyn Milbrath, she indicated they experienced about a 10% participation rate. The workshops, courses, and seminars offered run the gamut as stated in the Academy's mission. And here are some of the institutional culture-oriented offerings. And there is a new push into wellness as an extension of the work-life balance push. The Academy also uses the Qualtrics survey tool for obtaining Kirkpatrick Level 1 metrics. This feedback assists them in making adjustments to the types of offerings as well as presentation considerations. The third entity I examined was the department I work in, IRT's Client Services. The director, Jennifer Haas, adeptly passed the ball back to me. As a manager, I promote professional development amongst my subordinates. Each employee can, at will, research offerings from in or outside the university in pursuit of development opportunities each feels is aligned with their core responsibilities. Knowing and understanding that innovation emanates from the cross-pollination of disciplines, I urge and allow requests which fall outside of core responsibility boundaries. The IRT mission also aligns with the strategic goals and the mission at the University of St. Thomas. IRT and Client Services utilizes no formal survey evaluation instruments. However, each individual is responsible for creating a presentation and how their learning can be applied to achieve results and delivering their presentation to their peers. Although a survey isn't taken, those engaged in the development process are expected to meet the Kirkpatrick Level 4 evaluation standard of results or effectiveness of contributing to outcomes. When it comes to evaluating the university-wide evaluation process, I find it much like the invisible hand of economic theory. In this case, learning and training are guided by each department's interpretation of the core university mission. In the three entities, I found their offerings to be either explicitly or implicitly aligned with mission. With each entity hosting its own training and development, there exists the potential for duplicity, which can be costly in both manpower and dollars. The system lacks a coordinated effort. With effort, the university might benefit from cross-silo inputs and conversations supporting the free flow of ideas. When departments approach the administration for more training dollars, each request is segregated. How does the administration present a consolidated training and development systems approach to the Board of Trustees in requesting more financial support? Without a system-wide base of evaluation metrics, how is a by-the-numbers Board of Trustees to see value in a request? For example, let me take you back to the Faculty Development Center. Faculty are evaluated by their students on perceived effectiveness. Faculty can choose to follow up on these surveys or not. Most do, as it likely affects their performance reviews. What metrics might the center employ to track true teaching effectiveness? would prove beneficial to track individual student progress through their academic time at the university after they've taken a class from a highly ranked instructor to see if the quality of perceived instruction had lasting benefits? Did the students learn to utilize the learning methods they acquired from that particular instructor? Second, are the necessary metrics tracked so students might search a database to discover other faculty who use similar instructional modalities which they found successful to their personal learning efficacy? My recommendation is for the university to establish common metrics to be followed and to promote follow-up surveys to determine if faculty and staff learners are applying their newly acquired knowledge in pursuit of the core mission and goals of the university. For example, right now, training and development units propagate by seed. They kind of drop and grow. Whereas if the university were to employ more of a rhizome type propagation, the rhizome would be the conversational conduit in which all units would have a flow of information back and forth to determine best practices and best outcomes.